Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare,
वीडियो वीडियो
Krishna
साउंड नहीं होएगा अभी
Krishna
स्क्रीन होने के लिए चांसेस है नहीं आपको वाईफाई
Hare Rama Hare Rama, Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura.
श्री प्रभात की जय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा. Okay, let's revise a few points from yesterday. Okay, good point. Right, so success in spiritual life is to develop some attraction towards Krishna, not simply in some external achievements. What else? Yes, bro. Mm. 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 Right, so feelings of separation of Nanda Maharaj for Krishna, okay? Mm. Mm. Right, so the Aishwarya Gyan did not reduce the prema of Nanda and Yashoda. That could happen with other devotees like Vasudeva and Devaki, but the speciality of the prema of the Vrajvasis is it can never be reduced. The prema can never be reduced. So we saw that how Uddhav was trying to speak about some Aishwarya of Krishna, so that Nanda and Yashoda may reduce their prema, but he was totally unsuccessful. Right. So that is the superiority of Vraja Prem. Something else?
Devotional service doesn't mean that we have to negate the emotion or we have to stop the emotions, but we have to channelize through Krishna way so that it should be proper in Vaishnava attitude. It should come like if angry is there, so it should happen. We have to analyze why I'm angry and how we have to respond or how we to react in that way.
Right, it's a good point. So we discussed the difference between material emotions and spiritual emotions. Yes.
You're telling the here separation was mentioned of Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda. So regarding that, you are telling that here so much separation is there. We can just imagine, and we cannot experience this. And also, they have separation means they have so much love because of that separation is there.
Yes. When there's love, then there are feelings of separation. Right. So to
Hare
the degree
Krishna,
there's
Vishnu.
love, when the object of love is removed, then there are feelings of separation. It could be anything. It could
Hare
be
Krishna.
some object also, it could be a person also. So to the degree there is love, when it is taken away, there's separation. One day no prasad, how much separation is there? Correct? So then when that separation is there, what happens? Nirjal Ekadashi. What is the meditation on? Right? So naturally, right? There's meditation on prasad, which is not so bad because prasad is also Krishna. Yes. Yes. Correct. So why? Because there is so much of hankering. So when the object of hankering of love is taken away, then obviously the meditation is on that object. Yeah, that's natural.
Prabhuji, online devotees can answer.
Yes, please do.
So, Prabhuji, yesterday you had, mentioned that sometimes we may be standing in front of Krishna, but yet we cannot see Krishna. But the gopis and the Brajavasis were Krishna conscious every moment. And you had also mentioned that Vraja Prema is the topmost. And this is what actually Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give us. He's giving us the highest level of Prema, which is actually unmixed, Kevala Prema. And that's why he's the most magnanimous avatar or the most beneficent avatar of this Kali Yuga. And you
Right.
also mentioned that the satisfaction of the guru is that the disciple is making more spiritual progress. Because if the standard of pure devotional service is what is pleasing the spiritual master, and if the love towards devotional service is not increasing, then what is you were mentioning that we maybe have passed so many years, but we are not attending Mangala Aarti and we are not following the regulative principles, and we think that oh, now we are senior and we don't need to follow. But when we stick to the process and we are consistent, which means that we are progressing in spiritual life and we become more humble in that way.
Right. Okay, good points. Thank you. Yes, so yes, we were discussing about how the love of Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda is so intense. So the Aishwarya Gyan, or Uddhav was trying different ways to reduce the prema. He was trying to say that, okay, you're always thinking of Krishna because you're always sitting inside the house. So better go out to the pasturing grounds, on the banks of the Yamuna, go out, roam around, you'll forget Krishna. So what did Nand Maharaj say? Yes, but wherever I see Krishna, he was playing here, he was doing this. So that was their position. Okay, so in this way, Uddhav, he tries to pacify Nand Maharaj and Yashoda, and the whole night passes away, and the next morning, the gopis see Uddhav. Okay, so that's what is the context of the next chapter. No, there's nothing to be shown there. Chapter 47, the Song of the Bee, Brahmar Geet. So, this chapter is a chapter which we can only worship. This is Mahabhav Prem of Srimati Radharani being depicted here. So, there cannot be much discussion, analysis, or trying to understand. It's too far. In fact, the situation is that even Krishna cannot understand this Mahabhav Prem of Srimati Radharani. Therefore, he came as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to try and understand. So, if Krishna also cannot understand, what is our position? So, therefore, what I thought is of this chapter, so we will just read for our purification, that's all. We'll just read. Some verses we'll recite, and basically we'll read translations, and they've given quite appropriate commentaries here in the book, in the Bhagavatam, the BBT book. They've given some commentaries of the Acharyas which are understandable, something which we can appreciate to some degree. So therefore I didn't project anything. So what is there in the book is good enough. If we can even begin to fathom something of what's there in the book, good enough. So we don't want to get into too many esoteric discussions. Surely I'm not qualified for such a discussion. And so therefore we'll read how much ever we can appreciate. up to every individual, you can appreciate. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Jaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. Okay. 47. Text 1 and 2. Shri Shuka Uvacha Tam Vikshya Krishna Nucharam Vrajastriyah Pralambavahom Navakanjalochanam Pitambaram Pushkaramalinam Lasan Mukharavindam Parimrishta Kundalam Suvismitako Yamapi Vyadarshanaha Kutasya Kasyachyuta Veshabhushanaha Iti sma sarva parivartutsukas uttama shloka padambujashrayam. Shukdev Goswami said, the young women of Vraja became astonished upon seeing Lord Krishna's servant, who had long arms, whose eyes resembled a newly grown lotus, who wore a yellow garment and a lotus garland, and whose lotus-like face glowed with brilliant polished earrings. Who is this handsome man? The gopis asked. Where has he come from? And whom does he serve? He is wearing Krishna's clothes and ornaments. Saying this, the gopis eagerly crowded around Uddhav, whose shelter was the lotus feet of Lord Uttama Shloka, Sri Krishna. So we'll just read from Krishna book. So, Prabhupada has entitled this chapter as Delivery of the Message of Krishna to the Gopis. That's how Prabhupada has entitled this chapter. Okay, so these two verses, Srila Prabhupada describes in the first two paragraphs of his writing. When the gopis saw Uddhav, they observed that his features almost exactly resembled those of Krishna, and they could understand that he was a great devotee of Krishna's. His arms were very long, and his eyes were just like the petals of the lotus flower. He was dressed in yellow garments and wore a garland of lotus flowers. His face was very beautiful, having achieved the liberation of Sarupya, and thus having the same bodily features as the Lord. Uddhav looked almost like Krishna. In Krishna's absence, the gopis had been coming dutifully to visit Mother Yashoda's house early in the morning. These are some points which are not there in the Bhagavatam actually. Srila Prabhupada is adding these points. In Krishna's absence, the gopis had been coming dutifully to visit Mother Yashoda's house early in the morning. They knew that Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda were always grief-stricken, and they had made it their first duty to come and pay their respects to the most exalted elder personalities of Vrindavan. Seeing the friends of Krishna, Nanda and Yashoda would remember Krishna himself and be satisfied, and the gopis also would be pleased by seeing Nanda and Yashoda. When the gopis saw that Uddhav was representing Krishna even in his bodily features, they thought that he must be a soul completely surrendered unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They began to contemplate, who is this boy who looks just like Krishna? He has the same eyes like lotus petals, the same raised nose and beautiful face, and he is smiling in the same way. In all respects, he resembles Krishna, Shyam Sundar, the beautiful blackish boy. He's even dressed exactly like Krishna. Where has this boy come from? Who's the fortunate girl who has him for a husband? Thus they talked among themselves. They were very anxious to know about him, and because they were simple, unsophisticated village girls, they surrounded Uddhav. Okay, so that's the description of how the gopis, they surrounded Uddhav and they began to inquire, or they were thinking, who is this person, where does he come from, things like that. Okay, text 3. Huh? So I think so. Volume has to be this also, that also. So somebody want to.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. So somebody wants to answer the question. So the question is, when can we begin to read books describing pastimes of Radha Krishna and other acharyas' books? When can one read? This is Bhakti Vedanta class, so all of you should be able to tell these things. Okay, so once we should cover all Prabhupada books, and then? Okay, and simultaneously for some reference we can read. Okay, good.
After reading also that we should get permission from our spiritual authorities that whether one is qualified to read, because what is more important than covering, as this is my understanding, covering is the disposition of a person, of a devotee whom the superiors can easily judge for what he is reading.
Okay, fine. Guidance of superior spiritual authorities. Okay, good. Any other thoughts?
Especially esoteric pastimes. Means you're asking about Acharya commentaries or esoteric pastimes?
No, he's asking about any other books besides Prabhupada books.
Become more specific because I don't want to waste time.
Correct.
I did quote the verse which is Rasa Leela Phalashruti, where it is told a person who has lust. So, and it is specific about just now how we, talking about conjugal love, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give. So I am being very specific about this, and Prabhupada is saying that advanced devotees read Krishna Bhajanamrita. So my question is, when I think of going in this instruction of Srila Prabhupada, so it is very specific, so please help. And many times we hear this that, okay, this is too high, it's beyond and all. Yeah, it's surely. But then, if, how many years like that will do? Or we should have some discussion, or what exactly has to be done? That is my question.
Okay, any thoughts? One or two more?
Prabhuji, may I answer?
Okay.
Online, Prabhuji, may I answer?
Yes, please go ahead.
Prabhuji, I'm also of the same thought as Samarpan Go Prabhuji, that till the time we have to check ourselves that do I succumb to, sense gratification? Am I easily able to, resist sense gratification? And that is actually lust. So till that point of time, I feel that we should only read Prabhupada books. And only after that, maybe we should take the permission of our spiritual authority, spiritual master, and then we can go ahead. Because I think this requires enough amount of maturity also to read these books. We might read them, but we might not, grasp the inner meanings, or we may not be able to read in between lines of those books. And that's why I think we should give ourselves sufficient amount of time to prepare our consciousness for reading those books.
Thank you very much for those thoughts. So I think so that answers the question, right? Okay, I'll tell you my standard answer, which is also the well-known, famous example of His Holiness Kadam Kanan Maharaj. Everyone knows that, right? What is that? Tell. हाँ. See that see whether that is your question or not the question, the answer remains the same. So that means, so just like his just like His Grace Radha Gopinath Prabhu was making the same point in his brahmachari class the other day. If you listen to that one statement, he gave another example. If anybody caught it, what is the example he gave? For reading Prabhupada books. What was the example? Example. Say that? Exactly. Yes. So that means the main nourishment has to come from Srila Prabhupada's books. And that always remains the case. So therefore, I consider that example more appropriate, the rice dal sabji. Somebody may argue about mother's milk, but the rice dal sabji example is very appropriate because our standard menu always remains the same, right? Even if one becomes 60 years, 70 years, does the menu change? The menu always remains the same. No, we're not.
No, I am not arguing, Prabhu.
We are not
I
getting
want
into
to
details.
save a time here.
Please hold on. Just let me finish. So the main course of the meal remains the same. The chutney always remains a side dish. That is the point. And so therefore, that is the opinion of not only His Holiness Kadamkana Maharaj, but you can speak to most of Srila Prabhupada's disciples. Their opinion will remain the same. Our main nourishment from the Shastra has to come from Srila Prabhupada's books, because we are members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and our connection to Srila Prabhupada always has to remain very strong, how much ever senior we may become, and how much of a sense control we may become. We may become Goswamis, or very advanced devotees, still that connection to Srila Prabhupada's books always has to be there as members of ISKCON. And another point is also the point that Radha Gopinath Prabhu was making. The same Srila Prabhupada's books, every time we read, what will happen? Yes. newer and newer realizations. So it is not that I read Prabhupada books once or twice and keep it aside. This is another point. And Prabhupada writes these things in his purports. Another point is, in one of his lectures, I was just hearing yesterday or day before, Srila Prabhupada says, to actually understand each verse of the Bhagavatam, this is exact Prabhupada's words I'm repeating, to explain, understand each verse, he says, it will take 1 month. So 18,000 verses, 18,000 months. And how much is 18,000 months? How many years is that? Oh, just hold on.
It's creating a lot of fear, bro. 18,000.
Exactly, 1500 years. So to understand Prabhupada's books thoroughly, Srila Prabhupada says it will take 1500 years. So the point is, we can never think that now I have completely understood Srila Prabhupada's books, I can keep them aside. No. One has to continuously keep on reading Srila Prabhupada's books, and at the same time, one can also, according to one's adhikar, under guidance, relish the other writings of the acharyas and simultaneously read Prabhupada's books. Okay, so that's my understanding. And if you have any other discussion on the point, we will discuss it after class. Okay, because we have very
To interrupt here,
no, we have very less time, and
we are going to read, so
today, in fact, I have to end the class by 1:30 because we have a program for the
high leads
leads.
program. Yes.
So therefore, we have very less time. Any personal discussion after class? Okay, fine.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Yes. Text 3. So, so the gopis, now bowing their heads in humility, the gopis duly honored Uddhav with their shy, smiling glances and pleasing words. They took him to a quiet place, seated him comfortably, and began to question him, for they recognized him to be a messenger from Krishna, the master of the goddess of fortune. Okay, so the gopis are exhibiting great humility and they're honoring Uddhav. How they're honoring Uddhav? Shy, smiling glances and pleasing words. Okay, so that's how they're honoring Uddhav. And then they sit him comfortably and then they began to question him. Short purport, the chaste gopis were enlivened to see that a messenger had come from Krishna. As Uddhav will discover during his stay in Vrindavan, the unique gopis could not think of anything but their beloved Krishna. Okay, fine. So now everyone can just read two verses. Yes, only
The
translate.
gopis said,
Wherever purports.
the gopis said, we know that you are the personal servant of Krishna, the chief of Yadus, and that you have come here on the order of your good master, who desires to give pleasure to his parents. We see nothing else he might consider worth remembering in these cow pastures of Raj. Indeed, the bonds of affection for one's family members are difficult to break, even for a sage.
The friendship shown towards others, those who are not family members, is motivated by personal interest, and thus it is a pretense that lasts only until one's purpose is fulfilled. Such friendship is just like the interest men take in women or bees in flowers.
Okay, so Srila Prabhupada in his Krishna book, he explains these verses. They welcomed him with polite words in great submissiveness. Okay, so the gopis are also exhibiting great submissiveness, polite behavior, humility. So these are very important qualities which are always very essential. And they're saying, we know that you're a most confidential associate of Krishna and that he has therefore sent you to Vrindavan to give solace to his father and mother. We can understand that family affection is very strong. Even great sages who have taken to the renounced order of life cannot give up family affection cent per cent. Sometimes they think of their family members. Krishna has therefore sent you to his father and mother. So they're saying that basically why Krishna is sent? To pacify father and mother, not us. Otherwise, he has no further business in Vrindavan. He is in town. What does he have to know about Vrindavan village or the cows pasturing grounds? These are not all useful for Krishna because he is now a man of the city. Okay, fine. Okay, purport to the 6th verse. So now they talk about friendship, motivated friendship, motivated relationships.
Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains here that attractive women like flowers possess beauty, fragrance, tenderness, charm, and so on. And as bees drink only once of a flower's nectar and then leave it for another, fickle men abandon beautiful and devoted women to pursue other pleasures. This tendency is condemned here by the gopis, who gave their hearts completely to Sri Krishna. The gopis wanted only to exhibit their charms for Lord Krishna's pleasure, and in the pain of separation, they questioned the motives of his friendship with them. These are the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Both Lord Krishna and the gopis are completely liberated souls engaged in spiritual loving affairs. By contrast, our so-called loving affairs, being perverted reflections of the perfect loving relationships in the spiritual world, are polluted with lust, greed, pride, and so on. Like all liberated souls, the gopis and certainly Lord Krishna himself are eternally free of these lower qualities, and their intense loving affairs are motivated exclusively by unalloyed devotion.
Okay, read the next one. So now they are giving a series of examples of how there are motivated relationships and how once the business is done, relationship is broken. So they're giving nice examples.
Prostitutes abandon a penniless man, subjects an incompetent king, students their teacher once they have finished their education, and priests a man who has remunerated them for a sacrifice.
And read next.
Birds abandon a tree when its fruits are gone, guests a house after they have eaten, animals a forest that has burned down, and a lover the woman he has enjoyed, and even though she remains attached to him.
Okay, so nice examples. They're giving a series of examples of motivated relationships. So business is done, relationship is broken. So whether it is prostitutes or students, priests. So therefore they are condemning Krishna. That Krishna also, he is not at all grateful, he is not remembering. So as long as he was in Vrindavan, he had a relationship with them. Now business is finished, now he is left. So similarly, there could be motivated devotional service. So when there's motivated devotional service, one is worshipping the Supreme Lord as a business. Then Krishna is also not happy with motivated devotional service. Therefore, when Prahlad Maharaj was asked, any benediction? What he said? Yes. So I'm not businessman. So I don't want anything. So already I'm born in demonic family. If you allure me with some benedictions, I'll ask you something material. So better don't ask. So therefore, the important point is that any type of motivated relationships, motivated devotional service are never satisfying to the other person. So the same thing applies even in the society of devotees. or the relationship with the Supreme Lord, the same principle applies. So as soon as another person comes to know, oh, this person he wants something from me, therefore there's a relationship, then that type of relationship can never be satisfying. So therefore, Savai pumsam parodharmo yato bhakti radokshje ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasiddhati. So suprasiddhati, satisfaction, takes place when the quality of devotional service is ahituki and apratihata. So to the degree that quality of devotional service is there, to that degree one can experience satisfaction. And to the degree there is satisfaction, one can attain perfection. Srila Prabhupada writes this in 1st canto, 4th chapter, text number 27, purports. This is in the pastime of Narada and Vyas. So there Srila Prabhupada writes this beautiful statement. He says, perfection can only be attained with a satisfied heart. That satisfaction of the heart has to be searched out beyond matter. So perfection can only be attained when the heart is satisfied. Because if the heart is not satisfied, then that means there are some desires. That is why one is not satisfied. So when one has desires, then one is hankering for desires, then how can one attain perfection? Not possible. But how can one attain satisfaction? When one is on the spiritual platform. As long as one is on the material platform, then there will always be ichcha. There will always be hankering. I want this, I want this, I want this. So only when one rises above the material platform to the spiritual platform, Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Ataiva Shanta. So only when one comes to the Nishkam platform can one become Shanta or satisfied. Otherwise, Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakale Ashanta. So that's an important point. And therefore, here the gopis are teaching us an important lesson that how a relationship on a material platform or with motivations can never be satisfying. And of course, here they're out of love. So all these feelings are simply out of love because they're all liberated souls, as has been explained in the previous purport. So out of love, they are accusing Krishna of also being motivated. And therefore, they're giving all these various examples. Okay. Please continue. Text 9 and 10. Okay, let's recite these two verses. Iti gopyo hi govinde gatavakaya manasaha Krishna dute samayate uddhave tyakta laukikaha gayantya priya karmani rudantyascha katahya tasya samsmritya yani keshora balayo.
Thus speaking, the gopis, whose words, bodies, and minds were fully dedicated to Lord Govinda, put aside all their regular work now that Krishna's messenger, Sri Uddhava, had arrived among them. Constantly remembering the activities their beloved Krishna had performed in his childhood and youth, they sang about them and cried without shame.
Okay, gata va kaya manasa. Okay, so everything, so their speech, their bodies, their mind, everything was Govinda gata. So focused on Govinda. And so therefore, as soon as they saw Uddhav, they began to remember Krishna, his activities, and they sang about them. Gayantya priya karmani. So they began to sing about them and then they were crying, rudantyascha gata priya. So in this way, they were expressing their love. Okay, read the purport.
The word balya yoho here indicates that ever since their childhood, the gopis had been completely in love with Krishna. Thus, even though social custom dictated that they not reveal their love to others, they forgot all external considerations and wept openly before Krishna's messenger Uddhava.
Next. Okay, let's recite this. Kachan madhukaram drishtva dhyayanti Krishna sangamam priya prastapitam dutam kalpayadvedam abraved.
One of the gopis, while meditating on her previous association with Krishna, saw a honeybee before her and imagined it to be a messenger sent by her beloved. Thus she spoke as follows.
Okay, so now it is being established that this gopi, Shukdev Goswami, is not taking the name. Okay, because he's afraid of going into ecstasy. And so he doesn't take the name, but the acharyas are explaining. Please read.
Srimati Radharani is referred to in this verse as Kachit, a certain gopi. To establish that this particular gopi is in fact Srimati Radharani, Srila Jiva Goswami quotes the following verses from the Agni Puran. Gopya prachur ushashri krishnanu charamuddhavam harilila viharamscha tatraikam radhikam vina radha tadbhava samlina vasanaya viramita sakhi bhi sadhyach shuddha vijnana guna jrimbhitam Ijyate vishinam veda chara mamsa vibhavanai. At dawn, the gopis inquired from Krishna's servant, Uddhava, about the Lord's pastimes and recreation. Only Srimati Radharani, immersed in thought of Krishna, withdrew her interest in the talks. Then Radha, who is worshipped by the residents of her Vrindavan village, spoke up in the midst of her girlfriends. Her words were full of pure transcendental knowledge and expressed the ultimate portion of the Vedas. In the Bhagavad Gita 15.15, Lord Krishna states, Vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedya. By all the Vedas I am to be known. To know Krishna is to love Krishna, and thus Radharani, by her own example and words, revealed her supreme love for the Lord. Having quoted the above verses from the Agni Puran, Srila Jiva Goswami also quotes the following from the Nrisimha Tapani Upanishad, Purva Khanda 2.4. Yam sarve deva namanti mumukshavo brahmavadinascha. All the demigods and all the transcendental philosophers who desire liberation bow down to the Supreme Lord. We should follow suit.
Okay, so now from the next verse begins the Brahmar Geet. Srimati Radharani speaking to the honeybee. Okay, so now read, continue. Now, just translation purports. And here, of course, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that how these are 10 types of jalpa, 10 types of conversations which Srimati Radharani is having. So that is being explained in the purports. So we will just go. Okay, read.
The gopis said, O honeybee, O friend of a cheater, don't touch my feet with your whiskers, which are smeared with the kunkuma that rubbed onto Krishna's garland when it was crushed by the breasts of a rival lover. Let Krishna satisfy the women of Mathura. One who sends a messenger like you will certainly be ridiculed in the Yadu's assembly. Purport. Srimati Radharani indirectly chastised Krishna by chastising the bumblebee which she took for his messenger. She addressed the bumblebee as Madhupa, one who drinks the nectar of flowers, and she addressed Krishna as Madhupati, the Lord of Madhu. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti points out that this and the following 9 verses exemplify 10 kinds of impulsive speech spoken by a lover. This verse illustrates the qualities of Prajalpa as described by Srila Rupa Goswami in the following verse from his Ujjvala Nilamani. Asuyershya युजा धीरण मुद्रया प्रियस्या kaushalodkara prajalpa satu kirtyate. Prajalpa is speech that denigrates that tactlessness of one's lover with expressions of disrespect. It is spoken in a mood of envy, jealousy, and pride. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti points out that the word kitava bandho expresses envy. The phrase from sapatnya to nah, jealousy. The phrase mas prisha anghrim, pride. And the phrase from vahatu to prasadam, disrespect. While the phrase from yadu sadasi to the end of the verse decries Krishna's tactless treatment of Radharani.
So, though we usually use the word prajalpa in a sense of useless talk, but actually prajalpa in the highest sense is actually spiritual subject matter. But because most conversations have degraded to material subject matters, so therefore the word prajalpa has become synonymous with mundane talk, but actually it is not so. Decries Krishna's tactless treatment of Radha. Somebody can see the dictionary. Right? Lack of sensitivity. Okay. See now, the definition is given here. Prajalpa is speech that denigrates means denotes the tactlessness of one's lover with expressions of disrespect. If you can understand that, good.
These words are quite relevant for me. Jealousy, envy,
Yes. Everything is
pride,
there. Everything is
disrespect.
There. Everything is there in the spiritual world, therefore it is there in the material world. But but in the spiritual world it is transcendental. Here in the material world it all becomes perverted. That's the only
Actually,
difference.
I always had this question of what is difference between this
Envy and jealousy.
Yeah, so here it is given from here to here. So can you tell? I don't know.
I don't know.
It is given from here. This word is envy. This is jealousy. This is pride.
If you can explain, you explain. I cannot
I
understand.
am not specifically, so I wanted to know. Okay, bro, we'll go ahead. Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry.
I cannot understand.
Is it true, or you want to try to read, or can I read that what he is saying?
Who?
Like at least the words which are so like kitava bandho expresses envy. That is clear because kitava bandho is the friend of like kitava is that. The phrase from sapatnya to na. Now what is that phrase exactly? Can we see that?
So that is in the verse, right?
Yeah, words are given. So sapatnya to saha.
Sapatnya.
Where is that?
Sapatnya means of the lover who's our rival. Sapatnya kucha vilulita mala kunkuma smashrubi naha. So that is the mala, the garland that has been crushed by the rival lover. And so she's saying that the bee has come from that garland after having touched that garland. So Srimati Radharani is considering that other lady to be a competitor or a rival. So that is why it is said that is jealousy. So she's sort of jealous of the other gopi, whoever that is. Vatu madhupatistan maninam prasadam. Yes, let Krishna satisfy the one of Mathura. One who sends a messenger like you will certainly be ridiculed in the Yadu Sesam. Yes. Mathura. That's okay. Next verse.
After making us drink the enchanting nectar of his lips only once, Krishna suddenly abandoned us, just as you might quickly abandon some flowers. How is it then that goddess Padma willingly serves his lotus feet? Alas, the answer must certainly be that her mind has been stolen away by his deceitful words.
So Radharani is wondering how Lakshmiji continues to serve such a person, right? So Krishna, he has abandoned us. So such a person, how Goddess Padma, that is Lakshmi, how she continues to serve? So the answer is, she has been cheated by Narayan's deceitful words. That is why she is continuing to serve. Jalpai, Uttama Shloka Jalpai. Okay, read.
Purport. In this verse, Srimati Radharani continues to compare Sri Krishna to the bumblebee, and in her distress, she states that the reason the goddess of fortune is constantly devoted to his lotus feet must be that she has been fooled by Krishna's promises. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, this statement of Srimati Radharani illustrates Parijalpa as described in Sri Ujjvala Nilamani. Prabhor Nidayata Shatya Chapalyadi Upapadanad Swa Vichakshanata Vyaktir Bhangya Syat Parijalpitam. Parijalpa is that speech which through various devices shows one's own cleverness by exposing the mercilessness, duplicity, unreliability, and so on of one's Lord.
O.B. Why do you sing here so much about the Lord of the Yadus in front of us homeless people? These topics are old news to us. Better you sing about that friend of Arjuna in front of his new girlfriends, the burning desire in whose breast he has now relieved. Those ladies will surely give you the charity you are begging. With the word agrahanam agrato na, Radharani laments that even though she and other gopis gave up their homes to love Krishna in the conjugal relationship, the Lord left them and became a prince in the great royal city of the Yadus. Besides meaning Arjuna the victor, the word Vijaya also directly indicates Sri Krishna, who is always victorious in his endeavors. And besides meaning the old news, the word Puranam also indicates that Sri Krishna is glorified in the ancient Vedic scripture of that name. In this verse, we observe in Radharani's mood the seed of jealous anger, which arises from an apparent disdain for Krishna, accompanied by a sarcastic sidelong glances directed toward him. Thus, this verse fits the following description of Vijalpa from the Ujjwal Nilmani. Vyaktasya asuyaya gudha man mudrantara alaya agaha dvisi kataksh otir vijalpo vidusam mataha. According to learned authorities, Vijalpa is sarcastic speech that is addressed to the killer of the Agha, and that openly expresses jealousy while at the same time hinting at one's angry pride.
So this sarcastic speech, she's saying, why are you singing the glories of Krishna here? Go and sing to the ladies of Mathura. Okay, next.
In heaven, on earth, or in the subterranean sphere, what women are available to him? Unavailable to him. He simply arches his eyebrows and smiles with deceptive charm, and they will become his. The supreme goddess herself worship the dust of his feet. So what is our position in comparison? But at least those who are wretched can chant his name, Uttama Shloka. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti states that Radharani's speech, expressing all the feelings of a disappointed lover, indicates an intensity of love for Sri Krishna, surpassing even that of the goddess of fortune. While all the gopis are perfectly compatible with Sri Krishna in terms of their beauty, temperament, and so on, Srimati Radharani is especially so. In her forlorn state, Radharani indicates to Krishna, you are called Uttama Shloka because you are merciful to the wretched and the fallen. But if you would be merciful to me, then you would actually deserve this exalted name. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti further points out that in this verse, Srimati Radharani expresses her spite born of pride, accuses Krishna of being a cheater, and finds fault with his behavior. Thus, this verse contains speech known as Ujalpa, as described in the following verse of the Ujjwal Neelamani. Harer kuhaka atakyanam Akhyanam, okay, Kotakaha Akhyanam, Kuhakata Akhyanam, Garbhita Ashreyashreya, Sasuyas Chatat Akshepo, Dhirer Ujalpa Riyate. The declaration of Lord Hari's duplicitous nature in a mood of spite born of pride, together with jealousy, spoken insults directed against him, has been termed Ujalpa by the wise.
Srila Prabhupada, in his book, for the first verse of Radharani's speech, that is the 12th verse. For the 12th verse, Srila Prabhupada, he described the same thing, but at the end he says, you feel very proud because of having touched that garland and your mustaches have become reddish. You have come here carrying a message for me, anxious to touch my feet. But my dear Bumblebee, let me warn you, don't touch me. I don't want any messages from your unreliable master. You are the unreliable servant of an unreliable master. This sentence is not there in the Bhagavatam actually. But Prabhupada maybe is quoting some other Acharya or something maybe. Right, but he says that you're unreliable servant of unreliable master. And then he says, it may be that Srimati Radharani purposely addressed the bumblebee sarcastically in order to indirectly criticize the messenger Uddhav. Like the other gopis, Srimati Radharani saw that Uddhav's bodily features resemble Krishna's, but she also saw Uddhav as being equal to Krishna. Indirectly, therefore, she indicated that Uddhav was as unreliable as Krishna himself. Srimati Radharani wanted to give specific reasons why she was dissatisfied with Krishna and his messenger. And then she addressed the bumblebee. Srila Prabhupada puts it in a little different way than what is there in the Bhagavatam actually. She addressed the bumblebee, then he is explaining, like Radharani is explaining why Krishna is unreliable. Your master Krishna is exactly of your quality. You sit, talking to the bumblebee. You sit down on a flower and after tasting a little honey, you immediately fly away and sit on another flower and taste. Similarly, only once did your master Krishna give me the chance to taste the touch of his lips and then he left me altogether. I know also that the goddess of fortune Lakshmi, who is always in the midst of the lotus flower, is constantly engaged in Krishna's service. But I do not know how she has become so captivated by Krishna and why she is so much attached to Krishna. Although she knows his actual character, maybe she is so much captivated by Krishna's sweet words that she cannot understand his real character. As far as we are concerned, we are more intelligent than the goddess of fortune. So you see, Prabhupada is, he gives some purport there. These sentences are not there exactly in the Bhagavatam, but Prabhupada elaborates. As far as we are concerned, we are more intelligent than the goddess of fortune. We are not going to be cheated anymore by Krishna or his messengers. And then Prabhupada writes, according to expert opinion, Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, is a subordinate expansion of Srimati Radharani. As Krishna has numerous expansions of Vishnu Murtis, so his pleasure potency Radharani also has innumerable expansions of goddess of fortune. Therefore, the goddess of fortune Lakshmi ji is always eager to be elevated to the position of the gopis. Okay, now we can continue. 16th verse.
Keep your head off my feet. I know what you are doing. You expertly learn diplomacy from Mukunda, and now you come as his messenger with flattering words. But he abandoned those who for his sake alone gave up their children, husbands and all other relations. He is simply ungrateful. Why should I make up with him now? purport. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, this verse illustrates the qualities of Sanjalpa as described by Srila Rupa Goswami in the following verse of his Ujjala Nilamani. Salunthaya gahanaaya kayapi akshepamudraya tasyakrut gyanta deukti sanjalpa kathito buddhi. The learned described sanjalpa as that speech which decries with deep irony and insulting gestures the beloved's ungratefulness and so on. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti points out the word adi and so on implies the perception in one's lover of hard-heartedness, of an inimical attitude, of a complete lack of love.
Okay, so here she's saying that we gave up everything for the sake of Krishna, but Krishna is so ungrateful he left us, even though we gave up everything for his sake. So here Srimati Radharani is accusing Krishna of being ungrateful. But what do we find in Krishna's pastimes? Do we find him ungrateful? So what are some examples to show Krishna showing gratitude? Okay, he goes to deliver Muchukunda. Okay, fine. So why he goes to deliver Muchukunda? Okay, fine. So he wanted to reciprocate with the service. Okay, any other examples? Krishna's gratitude?
Today in morning class, Puja sharing that when Draupadi called me, hey Govinda, when I was away, that one calling is making me indebted as time progresses more and more. So
Okay, good. Yes, good example. Some other examples?
Two son of Kuberas.
Nalukuvera Manikuvera.
So Lord Krishna is expressing his gratitude and fulfilling the words of his devotee Narad Muni to deliver them.
Okay, fine. So he was grateful to whom? To Narad Muni?
Just grateful to the two sons of Kubera.
Sons of Kuvera, for what?
For getting cursed.
For getting cursed?
By Narad Muni. Means he is fulfilling the words of his devotee.
Right, so basically, of course, that shows he is grateful to his devotee. Basically, he is grateful to Narad Muni, and to show that gratitude, he is keeping Narad Muni's words. Yes. Huh?
Sandipani Muni, as gratitude, he went back and tried to bring his dead sons back.
Correct. So this pastime also comes in the third canto of the Bhagavatam, where Uddhava is remembering the pastimes of Krishna. Right? This comes in the third canto, I suppose, third chapter, fourth verse. So there, Srila Prabhupada, after narrating this pastime, Srila Prabhupada says, so Krishna is not an ingrate. Ingrate means ungrateful. He is not ungrateful. So in reciprocation for the service rendered by his teacher, he went and got back his dead son from Yamaloka. Any other examples? Bolo?
Baki had fed the milk to the Lord and
Right.
Lord reciprocated.
Yes. So Putana showed gratitude. Yes.
Krishna became driver for Arjuna.
Okay, he showed gratitude to Arjuna as a devotee. Okay, he became Sarthi. Okay, feeding butter to the monkeys. Why? Okay, Lord Ram's Leela. Okay. Same. Reciprocation with Sudama. Why? So what's so great about that? No, why? Why specifically reciprocated? That is so insignificant, right? Poa is so insignificant. Huh? Why? What is the reason? Huh? No, Huh? Go ahead, go ahead. बोलो बोलो कोई तो बोलो.
The childhood pastime of they held hand each other in the service of their guru, and he had desired his association in future in service of guru like that.
Okay. What do you wanted to say?
Gratitude is that he has given me some affection. Now I have to respond him by giving something back. So he thought I will give my entire this thing, but still Krishna feels that this is less actually.
Correct, that's
what I am
true.
trying to feel. So this is his gratitude.
Yes, and also it is explained that actually for Sudama, even giving that was a big deal. Because as we know, from where he got that? The wife went begging to get that poha. With great difficulty, they got that. Right. So for Sudama, that even that old poha was also a sign, an expression of his love. Only when there's love, there is sacrifice, isn't it? So even to get that poha was so difficult for them. They didn't have, they had to go begging to get that. And so therefore, Krishna felt that, yes, I cannot reciprocate sufficiently for what he has given. Right, so
So
what is the importance of gratitude
Bhishma,
in our lives? Why one should be grateful? What's the importance? Okay, forgetting Krishna consciousness, fine, that's good. Huh? To value what we have. And why is that important? Yes, if we don't value what we have, then we will take everything cheaply. Okay, what else? Importance of gratitude.
Attempts of service.
Good, yes. Only when we feel grateful for what we have received, then we will try to reciprocate. Yes, good.
Like as Radhana Swami Maharaj says that a grateful heart is a happy heart. So we'll be satisfied and happy if we are grateful. Otherwise, we'll be complaining always.
Correct. If we are grateful, then one can be satisfied. Because one who's grateful, he understands that actually I don't deserve what I'm getting. I'm not even supposed to get this much. So therefore, if one is grateful, then one thinks actually I'm not qualified for what I'm getting. I'm getting much more than what I deserve. So then obviously he becomes satisfied. And as we were just discussing, perfection can only be achieved by a satisfied heart. Some other reasons? Importance
it
of
breeds
gratitude.
humility.
Online somebody is saying?
Breeds humility.
Yes, gratitude brings humility. How?
Because as you just said, that you don't feel that you are deserving even that much.
Yes, that's correct.
And
So, yes,
and
that's
plus
right.
that
So if one
example
is
of
grateful, then
Bhishma,
automatically one will be humble because one thinks that actually I don't deserve so much. So I'm getting much more. So that will bring humility. Yes.
Maharaj says in lecture, gratitude is the womb of all Vaishnava qualities. So only when one heart is grateful, then he can receive the mercy of Krishna. Otherwise, he will never receive.
Yes, that's correct. Something more? And what will happen if one is not grateful?
pride will strike.
Huh?
Pride.
Yes, there'll be pride because one thinks that, oh, I deserve much more. What they are
Doership.
giving, nothing. I'm doing so much service. And what ISKCON is doing for me? Nothing. So that will be the
Doership.
attitude. Huh?
Doership. Strong feeling of doership.
Okay, doership mentality, that's correct.
I don't know, it's in Ramayana or something, the greatest vice is to be, Lord Ram says that I think, that to be ungrateful is the greatest vice, or in other words, sin. Greatest sin is to be ungrateful.
Right,
And
yes.
so,
I think so. In Ramayana, Mother Sita, she tells that some story, right? The bear And there's a tiger who attacks, correct? Tiger who attacks and the man climbs the tree and there's a bear on top. And then what happens?
Tiger tells that man, "Sai, I need only some food to eat. So you push that bear, so I'll eat that bear and you'll be safe." So the man, accepting that advice, he pushes that bear. But somehow bear falls on the branch. And then he goes back. Then tiger says to bear, "See, now that man has shown ungrateful to you, you're giving shelter. Now you throw him down. I'll take him and leave." But that bear says, "See, he may be ungrateful, but I can't be ungrateful. Who had taken shelter of me, I'll never be ungrateful or deceive him."
Right, yes.
Prabhuji, also she said that we should never abandon our good nature even in the face of provocations.
One should not abandon good nature even in the face of provocation, right? That's integrity. Okay, fine. So therefore, gratitude is a very important quality, virtue, and therefore we read in the fourth canto of the Bhagavatam, after the four Kumaras, especially Sanat Kumar, he gives valuable spiritual instructions to Prithu Maharaj. Then Prithu Maharaj, he gives off the entire kingdom to them, to Sanat Kumar, and then he says, what? He says, actually one can never repay the debt to the spiritual master for the spiritual knowledge one has received. So anyone who thinks he can repay the debt becomes Vinodapatram, simply a laughing stock or a clown. So that is, and that's exactly what Srila Prabhupada also said, that one can actually never repay the debt, but one can try to repay the debt by rendering some service in the Guru's mission. So if one is grateful, then one will think, I have received much more than what I deserve. Right. So what we have received from Srila Prabhupada in the Guru Parampara, and especially for our Srila Prabhupada, in one offering at Srila Prabhupada's Vyas Puja celebrations, I suppose, or disappearance day, I'm not remembering exactly. But His Grace Brahmanand Prabhu, so he said that actually, from a comparative viewpoint, Srila Prabhupada is more merciful than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because Srila Prabhupada came to the Bawari, Mahaprabhu didn't come. So the point is that yes, what we have received, literally we have been saved from hell. So especially for us, because Srila Prabhupada, he went to the West, he preached, he wrote the books, therefore we are here today. So if we don't recognize that, and that is also one of the important reasons why we should emphasize Prabhupada books, in order to reciprocate with what Srila Prabhupada has given us. It is Srila Prabhupada who gave us these books, and that is why we are here. Correct? So to reciprocate with what Srila Prabhupada has given, we need to read his books. And very often, we see that those who don't read Srila Prabhupada's books and they go to other books, authorized books, no problem, authorized books. But when one does not read Srila Prabhupada's books, the result is the gratitude to Srila Prabhupada is lost. And after some time one begins to think, why to read Prabhupada books? The other books seem to be more nectarian. And then after some time, one stops reading Prabhupada books, and then the connection to Srila Prabhupada's mission becomes cut off. And then after some time, one begins to think, why remain in ISKCON? I can manage on my own. I can read books, I can do my bhajan, and I can make spiritual progress. Why bother to remain in ISKCON and go through all the troubles? And this has happened in the past. History has shown this is what happens. And so therefore, in order to maintain that gratitude to Srila Prabhupada, focusing on Srila Prabhupada's books is very important. Because when every time we read Prabhupada books, then we remember what is the sacrifice Srila Prabhupada has done to write these books. Every day. What is the sacrifice? It reminds us of that sacrifice. And then our dedication, our sacrifice to Srila Prabhupada's mission will increase, to reciprocate with Srila Prabhupada's sacrifice. And that is what is most important. Knowledge and information one can get from anywhere, no big deal. But these important qualities that we need to cultivate, that we will get when we reciprocate with the sacrifice which Srila Prabhupada has done for us. And as a reason, we are here today. And therefore, that's a very important reason why we need to regularly read Srila Prabhupada's books. It's not about information. That information we will remember for some time, we may forget after some time, that's all. But when we remember that sacrifice of Srila Prabhupada and we reciprocate with that by dedicating ourselves, by increasing our sacrifice in Srila Prabhupada's mission, then that is what will please Krishna so much. And that is what will help us make spiritual progress, not the information that we may acquire by reading many books. Ultimately, all that knowledge should lead to purification of the heart and an increase in one's dedication, increase in one's surrender. That is what, that should be the result. And that is also a very important reason why we need to focus on Srila Prabhupada's books. And of course, we get so many valuable instructions from the books so that we can imbibe in our own lives. And so that's an important quality, gratitude. And so, of course, here Srimati Radharani says, again, it's out of pure love. When Radharani is accusing Krishna of being ungrateful, this is on the platform of pure love, which Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains as what? Sanjalpa. Perception in one's lover of hard-heartedness, of an inimical attitude and a complete lack of love. Okay, fine. So we'll take a break and continue. Hare Krishna.
To hear about the pastimes that Krishna regularly performs is nectar for the ears. For those who relish just a single drop of that nectar, even once, their dedication to material duality is ruined. Many such persons have suddenly given up their wretched homes and families and themselves becoming wretched, traveled here to Vrindavan to wander about like birds begging for their living. Purport. Material duality is based on falsely thinking this is mine and that is yours, or this is our country and that is yours, or this is my family and that is yours, and so on. In fact, there is one absolute truth in which we all exist and to whom everything belongs. His beauty and pleasure are also absolute and infinite. And if one actually hears about this absolute truth called Krishna, one's dedication to the illusion of mundane duality is spoiled. According to the Acharyas, and certainly in accord with Sanskrit grammar, the last two words of the second line of this text may also be divided dharma avinishtaha. Then the entire line becomes part of a single compound, the meaning of which is that hearing about Krishna cleanses one of irreligious duality, and thus one is not vanquished, avinashta, by material illusion. The word dinaha is then given the alternate reading of dhiraha, meaning that one becomes spiritually sober and thus gives up attachment to fleeting material relationships. The word vihangaha, birds, would in this case refer to swans, the symbol of essential discrimination. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti quotes Rupa Goswami as follows in connection with this verse. Bhangyātyāgyo chititasya khaganam api khedanat yatra sanushayam prokta tad bhavet abhijalpitam. When a lover indirectly states with remorse that her beloved is fit to be given up, such speech, uttered like the plaintive crying of a bird, is called Abhijalpa. Ujjwal Nilmani 14.194.
So here she's talking about the results of hearing about Krishna. Yad anucharita leela karna piyusha. So this hearing about Krishna's leela is piyusha for the karna, nectar for the ears. And viprut sakrit. So she's so graphically demonstrating the effectiveness of the hearing. If one takes simply one drop, and that too only once, one drop only once, that is the potency of this hearing. If one hears just one drop only once, then the result is viduta dvandva and dharma vinashtaha. So that has been explained in the purport, what that dharma vinashta means. So, but such is the potency of hearing Krishna Katha that automatically all one's attraction to material relationships and material things is destroyed. And then one gives up everything. So she says they become dina, wretched, and they come here to Vrindavan and they become bhikshuk and they simply beg. So that means one develops so much of detachment. So that is the result of hearing about Krishna. So she's saying, even though Krishna is so cruel, hard-hearted, ungrateful, but still we cannot stop talking about him. What to do? And this is the result. That is why we are here in Vrindavan begging. So that's what she means to say. Okay, next verse.
Faithfully taking his deceitful words as true, we became just like the black deer's foolish wives, who trust the cruel hunter's song. Thus, we repeatedly felt the sharp pain of lust caused by the touch of his nails. O messenger, please talk about something besides Krishna. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti categorizes the statement of Srimati Radharani's as ajalpa, as defined by Srila Rup Goswami. Jayamyam tasyarti dattvam cha nirvedat yatra kirtitam bhangyanya sukhadattvam cha sa ajalpa udiritaha. A statement spoken in disgust, describing how the male lover is deceitful and brings one misery, and also implying that he gives happiness to others, is known as ajalpa. Ujjwal Neemani 14.196.
Okay. Now we'll read from Krishna book how Srila Prabhupada puts these verses. So after describing those three examples, which three examples she gave? Of ungratefulness? Vali? Yes, Vali, Bali Maharaj and Shurpanaka. So after that, Prabhupada writes, since Krishna is absolute, his so-called unkind activities are as relishable as his kind activities. So even though Krishna's activities appears that to be very unkind, cruel, but they're equally relishable as his kind activities. Therefore, saintly persons and great devotees like the gopis cannot give up Krishna in any circumstances. Lord Chaitanya therefore prayed, Krishna, you are free and independent in all respects. You can either embrace me or crush me under your feet, whatever you like. You may make me broken-hearted by not letting me see you throughout my whole life, but you are my only object of love. Which was? Asle Shivapad. So that's of course what Srimati Radharani's verse. And then he says, in my opinion, Srimati Radharani continued, no one should hear about Krishna. That is the meaning of this verse. No one should hear about Krishna, because as soon as a drop of the nectar of his transcendental activities is poured into the ear, one immediately rises above the duality of attraction and rejection. Being completely freed from the contamination of material attachment, one gives up attachment for this material world, including family, home, wife, children, and everything else materially dear to every person. Being deprived of all material acquisitions, one makes his relatives and himself unhappy. Then he wanders in search of Krishna, either as a human being or in other species of life, even as a bird, and voluntarily accepts the profession of a mendicant. It is very difficult to actually understand Krishna, his name, his qualities, his form, his pastimes, his paraphernalia, and his entourage. So that's the meaning of this verse. So Radharani is indirectly saying, don't hear about Krishna. But at the same time, she says, what can we do? We cannot stop hearing also. But then that's the meaning. Srimati Radharani continued to speak to the black messenger of Krishna. Please do not talk anymore about Krishna. It is better to talk about something else. We are already doomed, like the black spotted she-deer in the forest, who are enchanted by the sweet musical vibration of the hunter. In the same way, we have been enchanted by the sweet words of Krishna, and by thinking of the rays of his toenails again and again, we are becoming more and more lusty for his association. Therefore, I request you not to talk of Krishna anymore. So you can just see this. So she doesn't want to hear about Krishna, talk about Krishna, but still she cannot stop. So that's her prema. So of course, our condition is exactly the opposite. But then this is her condition. And then Prabhupada continues, these talks of Radharani with the bumblebee messenger, including her accusing Krishna in so many ways, and at the same time expressing her inability to give up talking about him, are signs of the topmost transcendental ecstasy called Mahabhav. The ecstatic Mahabhav manifestation is possible only in the person of Radharani and her associates. Great acharyas like Srila Rupa Goswami and Vishwanath Thakur have analyzed these Mahabhava speeches of Srimati Radharani and described their different varieties, such as Udghurna or bewilderment and Jalpa, Pratijalpa, or talking in different ways. These are the signs of Ujjvala Rasa, or the brightest jewel of love of God. Right. And then he comes to the next verse. Of course, in the next verse purport, they actually quote from Krishna book only. So anyways, we'll go to the next verse. Okay, text 20.
O friend of my dear one, has my beloved sent you here again? I should honor you, friend. So please choose whatever boon you wish. But why have you come back here to take us to him, whose conjugal love is so difficult to give up? After all, gentle bee, his consort is a goddess Shri, and she is always with him, staying upon his chest. Purport. In Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srila Prabhupada explains the context of this verse. While Radharani was talking with a bee, and the bee was flying hither and thither, it all of a sudden disappeared from her sight. She was in full mourning due to separation from Krishna and felt ecstasy by talking with the bee. But as soon as the bee disappeared, she became almost mad, thinking that the messenger bee might have returned to Krishna to inform him all about her talking against him. Krishna must be very sorry to hear it, she thought. In this way, she was overwhelmed by another type of ecstasy. In the meantime, the bee, flying hither and thither, appeared before her again. She thought, Krishna is still kind to me, in spite of the messengers carrying disruptive messages. He is so kind that he has again sent the bee to take me to him. Srimati Radharani was very careful this time not to say anything against Krishna. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur explains that the goddess of fortune, Shri, has the power to assume many different forms. Thus, when Krishna enjoys other women, she stays on his chest in the form of a golden lion. When he is not consorting with other women, she puts aside this form and gives him pleasure in her naturally beautiful form of a young woman. According to Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, this statement of Srimati Radharani expresses Pratijalpa as described by Srila Rupa Goswami. Dusyaja dvandva bhavesmin praptirnareti anudhatam duta sammananenoktam yatra sa pratijalpakaha. When the lover humbly states that although she is unworthy of attaining her beloved, she cannot give up hoping for a conjugal relationship with him, such words spoken with respect for her beloved's message are called Pratijalpa. Ujjwal Nilamani 14.198. Here Srimati Radharani has given up her harsh feelings and humbly acknowledges the greatness of Sri Krishna.
Okay. So that is what, so the bee went away and then she thought that, oh, now the bee will go and tell all the harsh words that I've spoken. So she became almost mad in ecstasy. And then again the bee comes back and then she feels grateful that still Krishna is kind and sent the messenger again. Text 21. Okay.
O Uddhava, it is indeed regrettable that Krishna resides in Mathura. Does he remember his father's household affairs and his friends, the cowherd boys? O great soul, does he ever talk about us, his maid servants? When will he lay on our heads his aguru scented hand?
It's a long purport.
Purport. The translation and word meaning for this verse are taken from Srila Prabhupada's Chaitanya Charitamrita Adilila 6.68. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti writes very poetically with a deep spiritual insight about the emotions expressed in this and the previous 9 verses. He interprets Radharani's feelings as follows. Srimati Radharani thought, since Krishna was once satisfied in Vraja but left for Mathura city, won't he also develop a desire to leave that place and go somewhere else? Mathura is so close to Vrindavan that it's possible he may even come back here. Krishna is the son of a respectable gentleman, Nanda Maharaj. So he must be staying in Mathura because of his sense of obligation to his father, who authorized his going there. On the other hand, while Nanda's whole life is dedicated exclusively to Krishna, Nanda is so innocent that he allowed himself to be tricked by the Yadus who brought Krishna to Mathura. Krishna must be thinking, alas, alas, since even my father could not bring me back to Vraja, what can I do to return there? Thus Krishna must be impatient to come back here, and so he has sent to you a messenger. It is only because Nanda is so innocent that he allowed his son to live. If Nanda had allowed Krishna's mother, the queen of Vraja, to do so, she would have climbed onto Akrura's chariot and holding her son by the neck, gone off to Mathura with him, followed by all the gopis. But this was not possible. Ever since Krishna left, Nanda has been stunned by separation from him. And Nanda's treasury rooms, storehouses, kitchen, sleeping quarters, opulent houses, and so on are now vacant. Unswept and uncleansed, they are littered with grass, dust, leaves, and cobwebs. Does Krishna ever remember his father's house? And does he sometimes remember Subala and his other friends who are now lying stunned in other neglected houses? The women in Mathura who now associate with Krishna cannot know how to serve him in the way that pleases him most. When they see he is not satisfied and ask how they can make him happy, does he tell them about the gopis, about us gopis? Krishna must tell them, you city ladies cannot please me as much as the gopis of Vraja. They are most expert in stringing flower garlands, perfuming their bodies with ointments, playing various rhythms and melodies on stringed instruments, dancing and singing in the rasa performance, displaying their beauty, charm, and cleverness, and skillfully playing at questions and answers. They are especially expert in the pastimes of meeting one's lover and showing jealous anger and other signs of pure love and affection. Surely Krishna must know this. Therefore, he will probably tell the woman of Mathura, my dear woman of the Yadu clan, please go back to your families. I no longer desire to associate with you. In fact, I am going back to Vraja early tomorrow morning. When will Krishna speak like this and come back here to place his hand fragrant with agru on our heads? Then he will console us, saying, O beloveds of my heart, I swear to you that I will never abandon you again and go elsewhere. Indeed, I have not been able to find anyone in all the three worlds with even a trace of your good qualities. Thus, Sri Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur interprets the feelings of Srimati Radharani. The Acharya further explains that the present text displays the speech called Sujalpa as described by Rupa Goswami. Yatrarjhavat sagambhiryam sadhainyam sahachapalam sotkhantam cha hari prushtha sasujalpo nigadyate. When, out of honest sincerity, a lover questions Sri Hari with gravity, humility, unsteadiness, and eagerness, such speech is known as Sujalpa. Concluding this section of chapter 47, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti explains that there are 10 divisions of divine madness, Divyanmad, which are expressed by the 10 divisions of Chitra Jalpa, or variegated speech. Such divine madness is shown in the special pastime of bewilderment, which is itself part of the supreme bliss, Mahabhav, of Srimati Radharani. The Acharya quotes the following verses from Rupa Goswami's Ujjvala Nilamani, 14.174, 178 to 80, to explain these ecstasies. Prayo vrindavaneshwarya mohanoyam udanchate etasya mohanakhyasya gatim kamapi upeyusah brahmabha kapi vaichitri drivyormada itiryate udgorna chitra jalpadhyas tadbedha bhavo matah preshtasya suhrudaloke gudha rosha vijumbitah Bhuri bhava mayo jalpo yasti vrotkantitat antimaha chitra jalpo dashangoyam prajalpa parijalpitaha vijalpo jhalpa sanjalpa avajalpo bijalpitam ajalpa pratijalpascha sujalpascheti kirtitaha. It is virtually only within the princess of Vrindavan, Srimati Radharani, that the ecstasy of bewilderment arises. She has attained to a special stage of this bewilderment, a wonderful state that resembles delusion. Known as Divyanmad, it has many aspects which come and go unsteadily, and one of these manifestations is Chitra Jalpa. This talk induced by her seeing her beloved's friend, is filled with coward anger and comprises many different ecstasies. It culminates in her intense, anxious eagerness. This Chittajalpa has 10 divisions known as Pajalpa, Parijalpa, Vijalpa, Ujjalpa, Sanjalpa, Avajalpa, Abhijalpa, Ajalpa, Pratijalpa, and Sujalpa. Finally, some authorities say that Krishna himself, eager to drink the sweetness of his beloved's speech, assumed the form of the messenger bee.
Okay, fine. So this is the end of the Brahmar Geet from verses number 12, right? Yes, 12 to 21. This is the Brahmar Geet of Srimati Radharani expressing her ecstasy of Mahabhav. Okay, so now Uddhav is hearing all this, and now let's see what is Uddhav's reaction. Okay, continue please, text 22.
Sukadeva Goswami said, having heard this, Uddhava then tried to pacify the gopis, who were most eager to see Lord Krishna. He thus began relating to them the message of their beloved.
Okay, so then Uddhav is giving the message of Krishna. Okay.
Sri Uddhava said, certainly you gopis are all successful and are universally worshipped because you have dedicated your minds in this way to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vasudeva.
Okay, so let's recite this one. Shri Uddhava Vacha
Shri
Aho Yoyam
Uddhava
Smapurnartha Bhavatyo Lokapujita Vasudeve Bhagavati Yasamiti Arpitam Manaha. Okay, so he's saying that you have become successful, fully successful, because you have given your minds Arpitam Manaha to whom? Vasudeve Bhagavati. Purport, although other devotees have certainly surrendered their minds unto the Lord, the gopis are unique in the intensity of their love. Text 24. Danavrata tapohoma japasvadhyaya samyame shreyo bir vivideschanye krishne bhaktir hi sadhyate.
Devotional service unto Lord Krishna is attained by charity, strict vows, austerities, and fire sacrifices, by japa, study of Vedic texts, observance of regulative principles, and indeed by performance of many other auspicious practices. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti explains the process described here as follows. Dana, donations given to Lord Vishnu and his devotees. Vrata, observing vows such as Ekadasi. Tapas, renunciation of sense gratification for Krishna's sake. Homa, fire sacrifices dedicated to Vishnu. Japa, privately chanting the holy names of the Lord. Swadhyaya, study and recitation of Vedic texts such as the Gopal Tapani Upanishad.
Right, so Krishna is obtained only by bhakti. So when all these processes are mentioned, dana, vrata, tapa, homa, so all these are only devotional activities, like observing Ekadashi and all this. So not, otherwise some other types of dana, vrata will not help. Only by bhakti, bhaktyama vijanati. Okay, text 25. What's that? Recitation of Vedic text is given an example, Gopal Tapani Upanishad. That is, Gopal Tapani, Prabhupada quotes from Gopal Tapani Upanishad in many places to establish the greatness of Krishna. Where it comes, somewhere it comes, I'm not very sure. Somewhere Prabhupada writes that he was not reading, he was simply explaining the message. Huh? Hmm. And Samay Prabhupada writes that. Okay. Of course, yes. In the further verse, actually, he begins speaking about that message. Okay. Text 25. Bhagavatyuttama shloke bhavatibirun anuttama bhakti pravartita dishtya muninam api dullabha.
Hare Krishna. By your great fortune, you have established an unexcelled standard of pure devotion for the Lord. Uttama Shloka, a standard even the sages can hardly attain. The term pravar- pravartita indicate that the gopis brought to this world a standard of pure love of God that was previously unknown on the earth. Thus, Uddhava congratulates them on their unparalleled contribution to the religious life.
Okay, so the standard of devotion was Muninam api durlabha. Even for the great sages, that standard of devotion of the gopis is very rare. So as we can see, they just cannot stop thinking about Krishna, even though they want to stop thinking. Even though they want to stop thinking, stop talking, but still they cannot stop. Now, what type of prema is that? 26. Dishtya putran patin dehan svajanan bhavanani cha hitva lunitayuyam yat krishnakhyam purusham param.
By your great fortune, you have left your sons, husbands, bodily comforts, relatives, and homes in favor of the supreme male, who is known as Krishna. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti explained that the gopis gave up their sense of possessiveness toward this object. History shows that gopis remained in Vrindavan, living in their houses with their families. However, unlike ordinary person, they entirely renounced the egotistical sense of possession of sons, husband, and so on. They never tried to enjoy them, but rather gave their whole heart and mind to the Supreme Lord, as recommended in the great religious scripture of the world. Following the example of the gopis, we should love the Supreme Lord with all of our heart, soul, and might.
Okay, so they gave up everything for Krishna. And of course, their husbands, sons, that was simply a sort of drama. As we read before, they never had any relationship as such. They were only meant for Krishna. 27. Sarvatma bhava adikrito bhavati nam adokshaje virahena mahabhaga mahan me anugrah kritaha.
We have rightfully claimed the privilege of unalloyed love for the transcendental Lord, O most glorious gopis. Indeed, by exhibiting your love for Krishna in separation from him, you have shown me great mercy. Purport. The gopis showed not only Uddhava but the whole world the joy of love of Godhead, and thus they bestowed their mercy on everyone. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, because their loving devotion was executed is in an appropriate way, their love brought the Supreme Lord under their control. Still, to show the intensity of their love, he apparently left them. But now he again manifested himself again among them, becoming spiritually present through their intense devotion.
Okay, so here, Uddhava is glorifying. Uddhava is glorifying the prema of virahena, the prema and separation of these gopis. And he's saying that this is your anugraha, this is your mercy that you are displaying this to me. So as mentioned in the purport, that not only to Uddhav, but the gopis were showing to the whole world what is the standard of prema. So, but still, to show the intensity of their love, he apparently left them. But now he again manifested himself among them. Okay, read the next one, translation.
My good ladies, now please hear your beloved's message. which I, the confidential servant of my master, have come here to bring you.
So now, this seems to be the words of Krishna himself, directly. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Bhavatinam Viyogo Me Nahi Sarvatmana Tvachit Yatha Bhutani Bhuteshu Khamba Yogni Jalam Mahi Tataham Cha Mana Prana Bhutendriya Gunashrayah.
The Supreme Lord said, you are never actually separated from me, for I am the soul of all creation. Just as the element of nature, earth, air, fire, water, and ether, are present in every created thing, so I am present within everyone's mind, life, air, and senses, and also within the physical elements and the modes of material nature. Purport. According to Srila Jiva Goswami and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, the apparently philosophical language of the Lord's statement conceals a deeper meaning. The Supreme Lord was secretly telling the gopis that he, by way of reciprocating their special love for him, was present within them, not only as the soul of all creation but also their special lover. In this sense of the verse, the word guna indicates the gopis' special divine qualities, which attracted Sri Krishna. The word sarvatmana, which we have here translated in reference to Lord Krishna himself, corresponding to the word may, which is also in instrumental case, is also understood in the sense of sarvatha or completely. In other words, although in one sense Lord Krishna was absent, he could never completely absent, since in his spiritual form he is always in the hearts and minds of the gopis. In Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and other books, Srila Prabhupada has elaborately explained that the reason Lord Krishna separated himself from the gopis was to intensify their love for him, and as Uddhava noted, to bless other devotees by revealing to them the intensity of the gopis' love. In fact, the Lord was spiritually present within the gopis since they are his eternal associate. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti further points out that the foolish person will conclude that Sri Krishna's use of philosophical language meant that the Lord was trying to bring the gopis to the point of liberation by explaining basic points exalted liberated souls, and their pastimes with Krishna must be understood with the help of authorized acharyas. When the gopis came for the Ras dance, Sri Krishna tried to preach Karma Yoga to them, emphasizing ordinary ethics and morality. But the gopis were beyond that. Similarly, the Lord Krishna now offers them Jnana Yoga or metaphysical philosophy. But this is also inadequate for the gopis who have achieved spontaneous, unalloyed love for Krishna, for Sri Krishna.
Okay. So now, yes, so Prabhupada writes here, Uddhav said, my dear gopis, I am especially deputed to carry this message to you who are such great and gentle devotees. Krishna has specifically sent me to you because I am his most confidential servitor. Here Prabhupada writes, Uddhav did not deliver to the gopis the written message brought from Krishna, but he personally read it to them. He did not give the message to them for them to read, but he personally read it to them. So he was personally reading out the message. The message was very gravely written, so that not only the gopis, but all empiric philosophers might understand how pure love of God is intrinsically integrated with all the different energies of the Supreme Lord. From Vedic information, it is understood that the Supreme Lord has multi-energies, Parasya Shaktir Vividha Vishruyate. Also, the gopis were such intimate personal friends of Krishna that while he was writing the message for them, he was so moved that he could not write distinctly. Uddhav, as a student of Brihaspati, had very sharp intelligence. So instead of handing over the written message, he thought it wise to read it personally and explain it to them. This point doesn't seem to be there in the Bhagavatam, isn't it? We don't know from where Prabhupada got this. Maybe it's from some of the Acharya's writings. But then he's writing that Krishna was so overwhelmed with emotion as he was writing, he could not write clearly. So therefore, Uddhav, if you would have given it to them, they would not be able to understand. So therefore, Uddhav personally is reading and explaining that message. Very interesting point. So that is how Uddhav perfectly understands the mind and the mood of Krishna. Uddhav continued, "These are the words of the personality of Godhead. My dear gopis, my dear friends, please know that separation between ourselves is impossible at any time, at any place, or under any circumstances, because I am all pervading." So that is the philosophical theme, that we can never be separated because I am all pervading. And then Prabhupada actually goes into a little more philosophical understanding based on Bhagavad Gita. This all pervasiveness of Krishna is explained in Bhagavad Gita in both the 9th and the 7th chapters. Okay, so which verses talk about all pervasiveness of Krishna, 9th and 7th? Yes, 9.4 to 10, that is talking about Krishna's relationship with the material worlds. Right, and the 7th chapter? Okay, before that? Yes, 4, 5, 6, 7, Matta Parataram Nanyat, so all those verses. Yes. So Prabhupada is explaining. In the 9th chapter, Krishna is described as all pervasive in his impersonal feature. Everything rests in him, but is not personally present everywhere. That is from 4 to 10, that section. And in the 7th chapter, it is stated 5 gross elements, earth, water, fire, air, sky, 3 subtle elements, mind, intelligence, ego, are all his inferior energies, but there's another superior energy which is called the living entity. The living entities are also directly part and parcel of Krishna. Therefore, Krishna is both the material and the efficient cause of everything. He is always intermingled with everything as cause and effect. Not only the gopis, but all living entities are always inseparably connected with Krishna in all circumstances. The gopis, however, are perfectly and thoroughly in cognition of this relationship with Krishna, whereas the living entities under the spell of Maya, the illusory energy, are forgetful of Krishna and think themselves separate identities having no connection with him. Love of Krishna or Krishna consciousness is therefore the perfection of real knowledge in understanding things as they are. Our minds can never be vacant. The mind is constantly occupied with some kind of thought, and the subject matter of such thought cannot be outside the 8 elements of Krishna's energy. One who knows this philosophical aspect of all thoughts is actually a wise man, and he surrenders unto Krishna. The gopis are the epitome of this perfectional stage of knowledge. They are not simple mental speculators. Their minds are always in Krishna. The mind is nothing but the energy of Krishna. Actually, any person who can think, feel, and will cannot be separated from Krishna. But the stage in which he can understand his eternal relationship with Krishna is called Krishna consciousness. So mind always has to be doing these functions of thinking, feeling, and willing. But when the thinking, feeling, and willing are exclusively on Krishna, that is called Krishna consciousness. The diseased condition in which he cannot understand his eternal relationship with Krishna is the contaminated stage or Maya. Since the gopis are on the platform of pure transcendental knowledge, their minds are always filled with Krishna consciousness. For example, as there is no separation between fire and air, there is no separation between Krishna and the living entities. When the living entities forget Krishna, they are not in their normal condition. As for the gopis, because they are always thinking of Krishna, they are on the absolute stage of perfection and knowledge. The so-called empiric philosophers sometimes think that the path of bhakti is meant for the less intelligent. But unless the so-called man of knowledge comes to the platform of bhakti, his knowledge is certainly impure and imperfect. Actually, the stage of forgetfulness of our eternal relationship with Krishna is separation. But that is also illusory because there is no such separation. The gopis were not situated in that illusory condition of life, So even from the philosophical point of view, for them there was no separation. So actually there is no separation because everything is related to Krishna. But only in forgetfulness one forgets Krishna and feels. But the separation of the gopis was actually no separation because they were always thinking of Krishna. So you see how Prabhupada gives so much of philosophy. This is a speciality of what Prabhupada has done in the Krishna book. Along with the pastime, there is so much of philosophy that Prabhupada explains. And then he says, Uddhav, continue reading Krishna's message. Correct. Yes. Philosophy. To understand Krishna's message to the gopis. Yes, he's using another Krishna's message in the form of Bhagavad Gita. Yes. So now we'll continue with Krishna's message. Text 30. Atmanyevatmanatmanam srije hanmi anupalaye atma maya anubhavena bhutendriya gunatmana.
By myself, I create, sustain, and withdraw myself within myself by the power of my personal energy, which comprises the material elements, the senses, and the modes of nature. Although the Lord is supreme entity, there is no absolute duality between Him and His creation. Since the creation is an extension of His being, this oneness is here emphasized by the Lord.
Okay, continue.
31. Being composed of pure consciousness or knowledge, the soul is distinct from everything material and is uninvolved in the entanglements of the modes of nature. We can perceive the soul through the three functions of material nature, known as wakefulness, sleep, and deep sleep. Purport. It is clearly stated here that the soul Atma is constituted of pure knowledge, pure consciousness, and is thus ontologically distinct from the material nature. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti points out that the word Atma may also be taken to mean the Supreme Soul Lord Krishna. Since the Lord has just explained in the previous verses that all material phenomena are expansions of Himself, the phrase Maya Vrittibhir Iyate indicates that by studying this world deeply, we will come to the perception of God. From this point of view also, the gopis were advised not to lament.
Continue, read up to 34.
As a person just arisen from sleep may continue to meditate on a dream even though it is illusory, so by the agency of mind one meditates on the sense objects which the senses can then obtain. Therefore one should become fully alert and bring the mind under control. The word pratipad means to be pursued or restored. The soul that is vinidra, free from the dreamlike condition of material consciousness, is restored to its constitutional position as an eternal servitor of Lord Shri Krishna, and thus the soul is directly pursued by pure consciousness. According to intelligent authorities, this is the ultimate conclusion of all the Vedas, as well as all the practice of yoga, sankhya, renunciation, austerity, sense control, and truthfulness, just as the sea is the ultimate destination of all rivers. Purport. Here the Lord states that all the Vedic literature is meant ultimately to bring the soul to the point of controlling mind and senses and fixing them in transcendental self-realization. The process of so-called yoga, mysticism, or religion that involve unrestricted sense gratification are not actually spiritual processes, but rather convenient ways for foolish people to justify their beastly behavior. Lord Krishna here assures that the gopis that by fixing their minds in self-realization, they will realize their spiritual oneness with the Lord. Thus, they will no longer suffer the pangs of separation.
Actually, all this philosophy is for us, not for the gopis, right? The gopis don't require all this philosophy. It is for actually us, but then he is trying to bring them to a philosophical platform. Okay, so the message is till the 37th verse, so you can read till there. Just 1 minute, we'll just complete this.
But the actual reason why I, the beloved object of your sight, have stayed far away from you is that I wanted to intensify your meditation upon me and thus draw your minds closer to me. Sometimes that which is close to our eyes is far from our heart and mind, and conversely, absence makes the heart grow fonder. Although apparently going far away from the gopis, Lord Krishna was bringing them closer to him on the spiritual platform. When her lover is far away, a woman thinks of him more than when he is present before her. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, the same holds true for a man who become more absorbed in thinking of a beloved woman when she is far away than when she is present before their eyes. Because your minds are totally absorbed in me and free from all other engagements, you remember me always, and so you will soon have me again in your presence.
Okay, so we can recite this in the next verse. Maya veshamana kritsnam vimukta shesha vrittiyat anusmarantyo mam nityam achiran mam upeshyata. 37. Ya maya kridata ratriyam vanesmin vraja astitaha alapta rasa kalyanyo mapur madvirya chintaya.
Although some gopis had to remain in the covered village and so could not join the rasa dance to sport with me at night in the forest, they were nonetheless fortunate. Indeed, they attained me by thinking of my potent pastimes.
Okay, so that's the end of the message of Krishna from the 29th verse, right? Yes, from the 29th verse till the 37th verse. This is the message of Krishna which Uddhav reads out. And of course, he sort of explains, clarifies things. Now, how Prabhupada explains this message? We already read a part of it. Uddhav continued reading Krishna's message. Nothing is separate from me. The whole cosmic manifestation is resting on me, and it is not separate from me. Before the creation, I was existing. This confirmed in Vedic literature. Eko Narayana Asin Na Brahma Neshanaha. Before creation, there was only Narayan. There was no Brahma and no Shiva. The whole cosmic manifestation is manipulated by three modes of material nature. It is said that Brahma, the incarnation of the quality of passion, created this universe. But Brahma is secondary creator. The original creator is Narayan. This confirmed by Shankaracharya, Narayana Paroviktat. Narayana is transcendental beyond this cosmic creation. In this way, nothing within this cosmic manifestation is separate from Krishna. Although Krishna's original form is not visible in everything. This is the basic philosophical theme in that section of the 9th chapter. 9th chapter 4 to 10. So Krishna says, Matstani sarvabhutani na cham teshavastita. And then immediately in the next verse he says, Nacha matstani bhutani pashyame yogam aishwaram. So in the 4th verse he says that I am spread all over this universe in the form of my avyakta murtina, in the form of my different energies. And then why immediately in the next verse he says, so in the 4th verse he says, I am situated in all the living entities. And all the living entities are resting on me. And then why in the 5th verse he immediately says, no, they're not resting on me. Why he says like that? Right. So there Srila Prabhupada purport explains, so some people have a misconception that, yes, the Atlas, he gives the example of the Atlas, the man is holding the Atlas and he is having great difficulties, tired. But Krishna is creating, maintaining, destroying all these universes, but he is doing all of them effortlessly, simply by his desire. Everything is happening simply by his desire. He doesn't have to put any effort. So, that is how Krishna is in perfect control of everything in the material universe, but still he is totally aloof. Udasinavat. He is totally aloof. So, that is what he is explaining over here. And so, ultimately, of course, everything is related with Krishna. And that is what Krishna is trying to tell to the gopis, that why are you feeling separation? I am everywhere. You don't have to feel separation. I'm everywhere. This entire material universe. I'm only the universe. There's no difference. That is what he's trying to explain philosophically. Krishna maintains, creates, maintains, and analyzes the whole cosmic manifestation by expanding himself in different incarnations. Everything is Krishna and everything depends on Krishna, but he is not perceived in the material energy, and therefore it is called Maya or illusion. In the spiritual energy, however, Krishna is perceived at every step in all circumstances. This perfectional stage of understanding is represented by the gopis. As Krishna is always aloof from the cosmic manifestation, although it is completely dependent on him, so living entity is also completely aloof from his material conditioned life, although the material body has developed on the basis of spiritual existence. In Bhagavad Gita, the whole cosmic manifestation is accepted as the mother of the living entities, and Krishna is the father. As the father impregnates the mother by injecting the living entity within the womb, Krishna injects all the living entities in the womb of the material nature. They come out in different bodies according to the different fruitive activities, but in all circumstances, the living entities aloof from this material conditioned life. If we simply study our own bodies, we can understand how a living entity is always aloof from this bodily engagement. Every action of the body takes place by the interaction of the three modes of material nature. We can see at every moment many changes taking place in our bodies, but the spirit soul is aloof from all changes. Body is changing, correct? But the spirit soul is always different. Verse? Bhagavad Gita verse? Body is changing. Okay, Vasamsi Janani's analogy. Dehinosmen yada dehe kaumaram yavanam tada dehandar dhiras tatra namuyati. So body is always changing at every moment. One can neither create nor annihilate nor interfere with the actions of material nature. The living entity is therefore entrapped by the material body and conditioned in three stages, namely while awake, asleep, and unconscious. So we know this. Jagrati, Swapna, Sushupti. The mind acts throughout all three conditions of life. The living entity in a sleeping or dreaming condition sees something as real. And when awake, he sees the same thing as unreal. So all these conditions are changing, but the person remains the same. While sleeping, he is seeing something. While awake, he is seeing something else. He forgets what is in sleep, and then he sees something else. So conditions are changing, but the person remains the same. Correct? So the mind acts throughout all three conditions of life. The living entity in a sleeping or dreaming condition sees something as real, and when awake, he sees the same thing as unreal. It is concluded, therefore, that under certain circumstances he accepts something as real, and under the other circumstances he accepts the very same thing as unreal. These matters are the subject of study for the empiric philosopher or the Sankhya Yogi. To come to the right conclusion, Sankhya Yogis undergo severe austerities and penances, practicing control of the senses and renunciation. All these different ways of determining the ultimate goal of life are compared to rivers, and Krishna is compared to the ocean. So you see, Prabhupada is adding so many things which are actually not in the Bhagavatam. So he's given this example of rivers, and Krishna is compared to the ocean. As the rivers flow down towards the ocean, all attempts for knowledge flow towards Krishna. After many, many births of endeavor, when one actually comes to Krishna, he attains the perfectional stage. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Kleshodikatarastesham avyaktasakta chetasam. All are pursuing the path of realizing me, but those who have adopted courses without any bhakti find their endeavor very troublesome. Krishna cannot be understood unless one comes to the point of bhakti. Then he says, three paths are enunciated in Bhagavad Gita, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. So anyway, so we want, and then Bhakti Amam Abhijanati, only through execution of devotional service can one understand Krishna. And this perfectional stage of devotional service was achieved by the gopis because they did not care to know anything but Krishna. It is confirmed in the Vedas, Kasmin u bhagavo vigyate sarvam idam vigyatam bhavatiti. This means that simply by knowing Krishna, one automatically acquires all other knowledge. And then Uddhav continued reading Krishna's message. Transcendental knowledge of the absolute truth is no longer necessary for you. You were accustomed to loving me from the very beginning of your lives. Knowledge of the absolute truth is specifically required for persons who want liberation from material existence. But one who has attained love for Krishna is already on the platform of liberation. So that's what all that knowledge is required for us, not for the gopis. The gopis were already on the above the liberated platform. They were in pure love, right? So further down he writes, I'm skipping a few sentences. The gopis did not actually feel any pangs of material existence, but they felt the separation of Krishna. Krishna therefore said, my dear gopis, to increase your super excellent love for me, I have purposely separated myself from you so that you may be in constant meditation on me. So Krishna is directly telling the gopis, I purposefully did this to increase your love for me. So which are the other pastimes where Krishna purposefully created situations to increase love of the devotees?
Narada boy.
Krishna gave only momentary darshan. Okay, where else? Yes, he leaves the Ras Leela again for the same purpose, correct. Okay, when he's not able to save the wives from the cowherd men, so that time he remembers Krishna, okay. Yes, he gives. Yes, that's what he tells them. Yes, he sends the Yajnapatnis away and tells them to continue to serve and remember him in separation. Right, so he wanted to increase their love. Okay. What else? Where Krishna or the Lord creates feelings of separation. Okay, Kunti Maharani, Krishna is leaving Hastinapur and then, okay, Kunti Maharani is feeling separation. Huh?
Lord Ram sending Sita in exile.
Okay, Dwarkavasis, huh?
Lord Ram sending Sita to exile.
Yes, that's right. Lord Ram sending Sita away to Valmiki's ashram. That was also to increase the prema. Yes, that's true.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu leaving Navdeep and going to, South India tour where the devotees were separated from.
Okay, fine. Of course, before that, Mahaprabhu taking sannyas and then going to South India. Okay, that's also correct. Yes. Right. Of course, that is true. That is true. But here we're talking about examples of those pure devotees. They're already purified, but Krishna wants to intensify their love. Also, we find in the Kalya Leela, Krishna remained trapped in the coils of Kalya for about 45 minutes. And we see the intense feelings of separation among the Brajvasis, Mother Yashoda wanting to jump into the river and all that. So that there also, the Acharyas very clearly explain that entire pastime is enacted simply to increase the love of the Brajvasis for him. So in this way, so the Lord wants to intensify the love. As far as we are concerned, of course, we have to begin. So only when there's love, then, but the point is that even on the platform of love, there are different levels, and that level can be unlimitedly increased. There is no end. Everything in the spiritual world is unlimited. So the love also can be unlimited. And so therefore, even though they are on the highest level of prema, still Krishna wants to intensify that love. So therefore, there is no end to how much one can increase the level of devotional service. Therefore, from a spiritual perspective, there is no question of becoming complacent and satisfied with the standard of devotional service one is performing. There is no end to how much one can increase the standard of devotional service. So that's laulium, that's greed, that's spiritual greed, to always think of how can I intensify the standard of devotional service and not become complacent and think, chal raha hai. Okay, 16 rounds are going on, I'm getting my prasad, things are going on. So one cannot be complacent like that, but rather one should always be eager to increase the standard of devotional service. So that's laulium, that's spiritual greed. So that is very essential so that one does not fall into the zone of complacency. Otherwise, after some years of practice, one can become complacent. Life seems to go on. Of course, Krishna usually does not allow that. We always see that in Krishna's pastimes. When Krishna sees a devotee becoming complacent, then Krishna will create a situation whereby one will have to forcefully intensify one's practice. So either one voluntarily does it or one will be forced to do it. So better one voluntarily does it. If Krishna forces, it may not be so pleasant. So that's the point. How Raghunath Das Goswami was always eager to increase the standard of devotional service. Okay, so okay, we'll just read another paragraph here. Again, Prabhupada brings in a nice point. Lord Chaitanya taught people in general the method of Vipralamba Seva, which is the method of rendering service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the feeling of separation. The six Goswamis also taught worship of Krishna in the feeling of the gopis in separation. The prayers composed by Srinivas Acharya about the Goswamis explain these matters very clearly. Srinivas Acharya said that the Goswamis were always absorbed in the ocean of transcendental feelings in the mood of the gopis. When they lived in Vrindavan, they were searching for Krishna, crying, "Where are you, Krishna? O gopis, where are you? Where are you, Srimati Radharani?" They never said, "We have now seen Radha and Krishna and therefore our mission is fulfilled." Their mission remained always unfulfilled. They never met Radha and Krishna, right? And that is how their hankering continues in separation. Krishna reminded the gopis that at the time of the Rasa dance, those gopis who could not join him for the Ras Leela gave up their bodies simply by thinking of him. Absorption in Krishna consciousness by feeling separation is thus the quickest method for attainment of the lotus feet of Krishna. And that is actually the type of worship shown by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this Vipralamba Seva. By the personal statement of Krishna, the gopis were convinced about the strength and feelings of separation. They were actually experiencing the supernatural method of Krishna worship and were much relieved by understanding that Krishna was not away from them but always with them. Okay. So Uddhav gave his message to the gopis, not his message, of course, Krishna's message, and now the gopis are responding. You have something?
So that is very clear. Whereas here is a serious business, it's not a drama for someone else. Where Krishna is not able to write his feelings. So it is not for any, means it doesn't appear that it is for someone else. So when we see this creation things, where he has to go.
It's finished or no? Anyway, it's not it.
I was happy to read in 9th chapter Bhagavad Gita and even Chatushloki, all these things. But I am really confused and intrigued that this is there in the highest. He is writing the same thing, creation, destruction, I am there. So this is not for me, at least I don't feel like that. It is actually for gopis. And here Prabhupada is saying that at the end you read beautifully that by the personal statement of Krishna, the gopis were convinced about the strength of feelings of separation. So he's kind of telling them also the philosophy. So is it that philosophical thing for them? Because you did say that it is not for them. But is it that Acharya is saying or someone is saying or Prabhupada is saying? Means I want to understand. Example also. In the last verse he is telling, see, that gopi didn't come, could not come, so she attained me. Like that. And here Prabhupada is saying that they became convinced that Krishna was not, they were actually experiencing the supernatural method of Krishna worship.
Yes.
And were much relieved. So these all feelings, they are really feeling relieved. And by the understanding that Krishna was not away from them but always with them. So means I am just trying to understand, because something similar happened in Ras Leela also. There he doesn't speak this, I don't remember, but here he is specifically speaking too much philosophy. For us, or it is for them, or
See, so the last thing that you read, where is that? Prabhupada? Where is this? Okay, Krishna reminded the gopis that at the time of the rasa dance, those gopis who could not join him, okay, they gave up their bodies. Absorption, Krishna consciousness by feeling separation is thus the quickest method for attainment of the lotus feet of Krishna. By the personal statement of Krishna, the gopis were convinced about the strength of the feelings of separation. They were actually experiencing the supernatural method of Krishna worship and were much relieved by understanding that Krishna was not away from them, but always with them. Okay, so we find that, of course, the philosophy at this point of time was Krishna is using the philosophy to help the gopis understand that Krishna is always with them. That is the purpose of the philosophy, correct? No, but here there is nothing like that is explained, na? So basically, he is trying to tell them that I am always present everywhere. I am always present everywhere. At the same time, the gopis are already on the highest platform of love. And so therefore, they don't have to understand the philosophy of Krishna's greatness. That philosophy they already know. But the main purpose of that philosophical understanding is to help the gopis understand that Krishna is everywhere. And in one sense, there is no separation from him. That is what he is trying to explain through that philosophy. And then he is trying to explain that how when the gopis in the Ras Leela is explaining that when they felt separation, they were ready to even give up their lives to achieve Krishna. So that was the standard of the absorption. And that is what Krishna is appreciating as the highest form of worship, those feelings of separation. And so therefore, there are 2 points achieved through the message. One point is, philosophically he is explaining that how he is everywhere. And so therefore there is no question of separation. That is one point. And the other point is that even though he is everywhere, but still he is not actually everywhere. And so therefore the feelings of separation will always remain. That is what the whole philosophy is, no? This is, and the title of that section of 9.4 to 10 in Bhagavad Gita is Krishna's Achintya relationship with the material world. So Why? Because he is everywhere, but still he is not everywhere. Correct? Prabhupada's famous example. The car is Ford, but Ford is not the car. You know that example? Car is Ford. On every car, Ford is written. That means car represents Ford. But if you want to see Mr. Ford, you can't see the car and be satisfied to see Mr. Ford. So similarly, material universe is Krishna. Everything in the material universe reminds one of Krishna, but still Krishna is different. And so therefore, yes, one can always remember Krishna by seeing the material world, but still the Goswamis are crying out, Hey Radhe Vraja Devaki. They didn't know the philosophy. So Krishna is everywhere, but still he is not everywhere. And therefore a devotee always experiences separation. And that is what Krishna is saying. That is the highest understanding, to always feel separation.
Prabhu, why, Prabhu, question.
When
Why is he making all this so difficult?
Shri Radha Kunj Bihari Prabhu ki jai.
It is inconceivable. So therefore it
No,
has to...
what is the problem with him being with everyone? Like in the rasa dance, he's there with everyone, everyone is happy. So then why this thing? Because he has the ability to. So why this whole thing? Means I'm not able to understand. Like say, why can't we just be happy with him?
Yes, simply
Why
chant.
this?
No problem. No problem, no problem. Yes, we can be happy. Simply chant and be happy. But still, we're trying to understand what is Krishna's message and how does it apply to the gopis and to us. That's what we're trying to understand.
Just this Ford and car example, like Prabhupada says, when he's explaining this verse 7.456, he says Prahlad Maharaj was looking at pillar and Hiranyakashipu saw it as pillar, as energy of Krishna. But Prahlad didn't see as energy of Krishna, he saw Krishna. Correct. So it's not about the car, he didn't see the car, he saw Krishna there.
Savar jangam deki, na deki taramut.
Yeah, so my question is now, is when you are there in front of me, like that Krishna is there in front of gopis. That is one existence which they experience in Rasa dance. So when Krishna is not there, what does that mean? Because he is there everywhere.
But still he is not there.
What does that mean? Because factually also has some difference. No?
So there is a difference, no? See, so that's what. So when a person is absent physically, when there is love, the person is present through remembrance. Correct? But still, there's a difference between remembrance of the person and the presence of the person. From an absolute viewpoint, it is non-different, but still it is different. And if we cannot understand this, therefore it is called achintya. So, therefore it is achintya. Because on one hand we say, remembrance of Krishna and Krishna are non-different. This is one statement. Correct? On the absolute platform, remembrance of Krishna and Krishna are non-different. This is one statement, which is correct. But at the same time, the remembrance of Krishna may be there, but still there are feelings of separation from Krishna. Yeah, that's what is achintya. That is what is achintya. On one hand, we say there is no difference, but at the same time, we say, no, there is a difference. So, how can non-difference and difference be present simultaneously?
So Prabhu, is this so that he can run his business here? So
So
he
this
created this creation, and if we always remembered
by
him,
logic.
there would be no business here.
This cannot be understood by logic. Therefore, it is achintya tattva. And therefore, we simply have to understand the fact that yes, so even though the devotee is able to remember Krishna by seeing anything and everything, but still he feels separation from Krishna. And that is what the gopis and the Goswamis are experiencing. Hmm? Yes, that is true. That is true. Basically, all this is to increase the intensity of love. Yes, holy name and Lord both are non-different. Yes. Okay, fine. Okay, let's proceed. Text 38. Shukdev Goswami said, the women of Braja were pleased to hear this message from their dearmost Krishna. His words having revived their memory, they addressed Uddhav as follows. So now the gopis are speaking. Okay, continue to read. And the next one, the gopis said.
Okay, sorry. The gopis said, it is very good that Krishna, the enemy...
Kamsa.
Sorry. The gopis said, it is very good that Kamsa, the enemy and persecutor of the Yadus, has now been killed along with his followers. And it is also very good that Lord Achyuta is living happily in the company of his well-wishing friends and relatives, whose every desire is now fulfilled.
Continue.
Gentle Uddhava, is the elder brother of Gada now bestowing on the city woman the pleasure that actually belongs to us? We suppose those ladies worship him with generous glances full of affectionate, shy smiles.
Purport.
Oh, purport. The name Gadagraja indicates Krishna, the elder brother of Agraja of Gada, the first son of Devarakshita. She was the sister of Devakis, who was also married to Vasudeva. The gopis, by addressing Krishna in this way, indicate that he now thinks of himself mostly as the son of Devaki. The implication being that his connection with Vrindavan has now slackened. Because of intense love, the gopis could not stop thinking of Krishna for a moment. Shri Krishna is expert in all kinds of conjugal affairs and is the darling of the city woman. How can he not become entangled now that he is constantly adored by their enchanting words and gestures? Purport. According to Sridhar Swami, each of these verses is spoken by a different gopi. O saintly one, does Govinda ever remember us during his conversations with the city woman? Does he ever mention us village girls as he frankly talks with them? Purport. The gopis were so completely in love with Krishna without selfish motive that even in their great disappointment, they never considered giving their love to another. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti interprets their feelings as follows. The gopis might say, surely Krishna has abandoned us because we deserve to be abandoned. Indeed, we are the most insignificant woman in the world and have been rejected after having been enjoyed. Still, do we sometimes enter into his memory on account of some good quality of ours? Or even because of something we did wrong? Krishna must speak very freely with the city woman. He and they must sing, joke, make riddles and talk about so many things. Does Krishna ever say, my dear city woman, your sophisticated singing and speech is unknown to the gopis in my home village? They couldn't understand these things. Does he ever speak about us even in that way?
So in Krishna book you see Prabhupada writes, as it said, every verse is spoken by another gopi. So Prabhupada says, another gopi said, another gopi said, another gopi said. In the Krishna book, Prabhupada writes like that. Continue. 43. So basically here the gopis are asking Uddhav whether Krishna remembers this, Krishna remembers that. So that's what they're asking.
43. Does he recall those nights in the Vrindavan forest, lovely with lotus, jasmine and the bright moon? As we glorified his charming pastimes, he enjoyed with us his beloved girlfriends in the circle of rasa dance, which resounded with the music of ankle bells. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti gives the following deep realization about this verse. The gopis knew that no place could be as beautiful as Vrindavan. Nowhere else in the universe could one find such charming scene as the Vrindavan forest, which was scented with pious flowers and illuminated by the full moon's light, reflected from the severe waves of the sacred Yamuna river. No one loved Krishna as much as gopis, and thus no one else could understand him as well. The gopis rendered intimate service to Krishna that only they could perfect. Thus the gopis were distraught to think that Lord Krishna was bereft of Vrindavan and bereft of their service. Free of all material lust, they were overwhelmed with disappointment because they could not give Krishna happiness by their loving service. They simply could not imagine Krishna enjoying anywhere else as he did in Vrindavan in their company.
Okay, two more verses, Yuri.
44. Will that descendant of Dasharha return here and by the touch of his limbs bring back to life those who are now burning with the grief he himself has caused? Will he save us in that way, just as Lord Indra brings forest back to life with his water-bearing clouds? 45. But why should Krishna come here after winning a kingdom, killing his enemies and marrying the daughters of kings? He is satisfied there, surrounded by all his friends and well-wishers.
Okay, so in this way they're remembering all the activities of Krishna when he was there in Vrindavan. And then finally in the 45th verse they say, but why should he come? He is happy there, surrounded by so many friends and well-wishers. And then they begin to speak about, yes, his life in the city. Okay. Fine, we'll stop at this point and we'll continue our discussions. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Samved Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.